Yeah, that's right. Our guest on Just Talking is John Carter and Joseph Depakakibo, our newest CCS contributors and host of The Cast of Color, a podcast show fighting to bring inclusion to the entertainment industry. So how's it going, John? How you doing?
Oh, man, I'm doing well, Chris. Thanks for having us. Thank you, Marissa. It's so dope to be here.
No, we're
Hey,
so
that's what I
excited.
like
And
to hear.
Joe is here somewhere.
I know, but you know the funny thing about Joe is he's an essential worker. So he's been on the move all morning. And when we get Joe into this, we would love to have him into this conversation. But since we're right at the top of Just Talking, we might as well jump right on into it.
There he is.
Oh, there we go.
Working man. There he is. The working boy.
But we'll start it off with John. You know, for the listening audience who has no idea about what The Cast of Color is all about, what is the premise of your show?
The premise of our show, Chris, we're an entertainment and pop culture podcast with a diversity emphasis. That's where we leave it at, you know what I'm saying? And the reason we leave it at that is because that gives us a lot of room to play with. When you say that it's about diversity, you can get a little more granular. But what segment of diversity do we emphasize? There's so many. Marissa, you're an actress. I'm an actor. I recognize that being a Black actor is just objectively different in the industry. So that's what it is, man. It's an entertainment pop culture podcast with the diversity and inclusion emphasis. And from there, the conversations can go anywhere.
And what you mean by there's just so much to talk about? Are you saying it's because you believe in 2020 right now that there's a huge diversity problem when it comes to the entertainment industry?
I do. I think in recent years, Chris, there's been a push for the industry to be more diverse. I think it's reflected in just Netflix shows or I think there is a push for it. So when I say that, we can talk about so many things, a lot of it is derived from personal experience. Just when I was working at MTV, I realized how diverse that company was and how they actively tried to be diverse.
You know what's interesting? I'm going to jump in here on the MTV because David Bowie, when MTV first started out, called out MTV for not having any Black artists having music videos, and they were only white. And I was, please people look this interview up, because he just goes, America's so diverse. There's so many diverse musicians of color. And how come it's only white people? Like, well, our listening audience. He goes, really? Just white people? It was great. So
right.
They have changed. They have definitely changed.
It has. And working at Viacom, it's a culture that very much was about that. So, Chris, when I said that there are different aspects of diversity, it's about, pushing for Black stories. It's about pushing for Asian American stories. It's about pushing for things that aren't the norm, which the norm is mostly white. That is what we're used to seeing.
Very true.
Absolutely. And we got Joe here, and he's got his video back on. So I want to throw this at you, Joe, because I think it's pretty incredible that you and John have gotten over 3,000 plus followers in a little over a year. That's pretty incredible.
Nice,
and why do you think users have captivated towards your show?
Well, first, I want to say that I think it's mostly because most of our following is a lot of other movie bloggers, other podcasters. So I think there's just kind of a mutual respect between everybody to kind of just tap in and support each other. You know what I mean? And then on top of that, some of John's friends, John, maybe you can touch on this, on how much what the show means to them. But on my end, it's just other bloggers and podcasters that just kind of support each other. So.
And you guys have good memes. So I followed you before I realized who you were. No, I saw you on Chris's feed. So I was like, okay, I actually agree with that. I agree with that. Oh, that's funny.
Well, you know what? I know that you guys are into the meme culture, but you're also huge superhero fan fanatics. So I thought, what better way for the listening audience to get to know John and Joe better by putting them to the test. We're going to be having a superhero trivia question for you guys. You guys got 5 questions, and let's see how far John and Joe can go. So very first question. What is another name for Superman?
Man of Steel.
Absolutely correct. You got it correct. You guys are 1 for 1 already. I like this.
Easy. Let's do it.
Number 2. What is Superman's only weakness?
Kryptonite.
Look at Joe. I don't know. This is starting seeming like a debate, John. I mean, I feel like John's the one that's losing. Maybe let's put them both to the test. Let's see if John can get into this right now. This is not easy, this one. Just as Superman has been known by another name, so has Batman. For this question, Can you find the one name that has not been traditionally associated with Batman? 1, the Dark Knight. 2, the Caped Crusader. 3, the world's greatest detective. And 1, world's greatest vigilante.
The last one, world's greatest vigilante, does not describe Batman.
John is correct. I think John's trying to get into this. Oh, I don't know, Joe.
like two
You
of
better
these.
step this up. You better start saying something because he's creeping on in. All right, question number 4. This superhero's alter ego name was Lamont Cranston. His show started on radio and eventually branched into comics and other media. And a well-known catchphrase from the show was, "Who knows what evil lurks in the heart of men?" Who is he? Was it Diamond Dawn, The Thing, The Shadow, or The Devastator?
I gotta go with The Thing.
Dang, this is deep cut stuff.
What do you got,
God.
Joe? Real quick. 3.
I'm
Two.
gonna go with Thing. I'm gonna go with Thing.
You guys are both wrong. You guys are both wrong. So it is The Shadow. It was actually
The
in the
Shadow,
DC Comics.
wow.
I think this would be really cool to see him on the screen, right? Maybe Matt
Yeah.
Reeves might bring him in his sequel.
I
Maybe we'll see.
I grew up listening
Oh.
to Shadow on the radio, driving late night back from the desert with my dad. So this is the one
Got
I
it.
did know.
That's a badass looking. He was like an anti-hero
He's
on
awesome.
it.
Right,
So
he
it's
looks
pretty
straight
cool.
up anti-hero. Okay, now I gotta tap in.
So you got to tap in because this one's now worth 2 points now because John's down by 1 and Joe's taking the
God.
lead as the most ultimate superhero fan. But we'll see if
Oh my
John can
gosh.
pull this off. In the movie Anchorman, Ron Burgundy says that what
I know this
superhero was denied a bank loan? The Phantom, the Flash, the Punisher, the Human Torch.
Oh wait, no, I don't know this one. Fuck.
What do you guys got?
I
3,
got
2, 1. You guys are
Flash.
freezing. I'll repeat it again real quick. The Phantom, the Flash, I heard from John, the Punisher, and the Human Torch. What do you got, Joe?
The Human Torch.
How now, brown cow? How now, brown cow? How now, brown cow? The arsonist has oddly shaped feet. The Human Torch was denied a bank loan.
Joe,
Let's
the
go!
ultimate
Let's go!
superhero fan. So I think we figured it out with the cast of color. John, you got a lot of work to do. I see that
Oh,
you're
I
repping it
got
behind
some
you.
work.
John,
Damn.
obviously you must not be working right now because you're an actor. So like we were all servers. So I think you need to study up, man.
Well, that was
Contrary to
pretty fun.
popular belief, I work in education. I do work full time, so it's a balancing act.
Oh,
Okay,
I
you got
I
lucky.
hear a lot of excuses, but okay, John, sounds good. But hey, let's jump right on into it because now that we got a feel about what the cast of color is all about and who John and Joe is, I really wanted to touch upon this because this was big news last week. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, he is a writer now for The Hollywood Reporter, and
Which
he
I
wrote
didn't
an
know.
article responding to director Lulu Wang, who wrote the phenomenal film The Farewell. You guys should check it out if you haven't seen it, listening audience. But I wanted to share this tweet up here because Lulu Wang, she had a rebuttal to what Kareem Abdul-Jabbar said in the article. So what she said was, the belief that anybody can tell any story they want is why we have monuments of certain heroes in this country and not others. This isn't about race. It's about power and control. The person who talks the most and loudest should not be the only voice we hear. In case it's not clear, I'm talking about Ron Howard in Hollywood, but I'm also talking about so much more. This isn't censorship. It's the opposite of censorship. But I guess what I would say is, do you think Lulu Wang has any ground to stand on by asserting that only a Chinese director can tell the story of a pianist named Wang Wang?
I think she does, in that it seems like kind of a niche. This Chinese pianist is fairly specific in nature.
Wait, so then
So
you're saying that a Chinese person can direct a Chinese story? Like not
But I
talking
don't
about
think
bringing
that.
people in?
I think there can be outside perspectives, but I do think the subject matter has to be accurate. I'll give you an example. I'm a Marine Corps veteran. When I watch military Marine Corps style movies, I want a sense of they reached out to a few Marines just to get a little bit of subject matter expertise, whether that's the way they talk, the way they march, the way they wear their cover. So in this situation, I think Kareem is saying that if that were the case, then how many people will be able to really tell different stories? So I think her response to Kareem, she has some ground to stand on, but I wouldn't generalize. I wouldn't say that only Chinese.
Because
I think she's upset that she's not the one that was given the green light to actually direct this one. This is where I'm going to come from this, because look, I'm about, if you have a story you want to tell and it is passionate, you get the right people in the room. So Ron Howard is known for bringing in people in the writing, in around the set, having that inclusion. He actually is known. Not saying all directors are. I mean, look at Milan from Disney. Hello,
yeah,
one
absolutely.
Chinese person was in that room except for the actors.
Well, let me ask you this, Joe, because sometimes I feel like it's getting to the point now where, like, you know, you could be a hair designer, and if you're not black, you can't do the hair for that individual. Like, I mean, it's getting to that point. I mean, imagine when it's like the new Black Panther comes out and they get a new female front. What if there's just this phenomenal white or Latina hairdresser? Is it going to get to that norm behind the scenes? I mean, you're giggling now. I mean, what do you think, Joe?
Well, I wanted to kind of speak on the Lulu Wang situation real quick, because I think as far as a Chinese director making a Chinese movie, like when you have directors like Lulu Wang or John M. Chu, who directed Crazy Rich Asians, I think you have room to kind of like reach out to them. And I think she actually tweeted this saying like, oh, I didn't want to direct that movie. And I think she sounded kind of sour there, to be honest with you. But I mean, as long as Ron Howard maybe has like Marissa said, other people in the room to kind of give him guidance, it might work. I mean, we'll see. I don't think there's any other details really as far as who else is attached to the film.
Well, what I would say, Joe, and I'd let you know too, John, it feels like we're moving towards a world where I like to coin things as true vision. And what I mean by true vision is exactly what I was talking about. It's like when I see someone on screen, I want it to be true to who they are in real life. And for example, it's like the Bryan Cranston in the Kevin Hart film. You know, people were so upset that Bryan Cranston was casted as a disabled person in a wheelchair when they're going, you couldn't, out of the 370 million Americans here, you couldn't find one disabled actor to play that role. And John and Joe, chime in. Are you guys more supportive towards that notion of true vision on screen?
Absolutely. And let me go back to the Lulu Wang movie. Is that movie going to be in true vision if it's not directed by someone who has a deeper understanding of Chinese culture? So, you know, like.
But let me throw it to you like this. What if you were a U.S. American and you are, let's say I'm white, let's say I'm Latino, whatever. You can pick whatever ethnicity that's not Chinese. Let's say I'm a historian on the Mao dynasty, and then I got signed on to write on that film, and someone looks at me and goes, sorry, you weren't actually born in the Chinese province. You don't know what imperialism is. Sorry, I know that you have 30 years of history on it. It could be a Chinese presidential historian on the United States. And you're going to oust them out because of their skin? I think
that happened with Milan. Milan, she's from a different Chinese province, and there was back talk about that. Because she's Chinese, but she was a different province.
I mean, let me throw this out to both of you guys. Because I have this thing where it's like everybody is so hampered on the United States not being diverse enough when it comes to storytelling in cinema.
Yes.
I would say the complete opposite. Okay. We are so diverse when it comes to cinema. And, you know, you don't see Chinese films. You don't see, like, European films, for a matter, or Muslim films trying to actually bring in other people of color into their film. You see Latina films pull it off. You see all the time that you got an African on screen or black man or, a white person speaking Spanish. Why is it that it's always the United States that's getting hampered on is, like, they need to do more with the storytelling on screen? So, John, you look like you're jumping on.
Yeah, man. The nature of the U.S., because we are this big melting pot, and because we are this melting pot, unlike Mexico, where if you see most people, your neighbor's probably going to be Mexican. If I live in China, my neighbor's probably going to be Chinese. The significance of America is that we are so different. And because of that, the normalcy that we've seen throughout cinema is mostly white. You know,
well, let me throw this at you, John, because you are a black man, and I would say that there's been a lot of black cinema only being represented in 2020. I don't see too many Chinese films, Joe. I mean, how do you guys feel about this? Because I get that. I think it's a great thing. There's a lot of great black cinema coming out in 2020, but it seems like it's being very hyper-focused on only one race. So does that really amplify the message of bringing diversity in film? And what would you like to see happen?
I feel you, Chris. I think that Black people, I'm going to speak candidly, Black people can be very vocal, and we have been, and our history shows that we have been. And I think it can lead to other cultures really getting the attention that they deserve, because even recently with the Black Lives Matter movement, it has led to different shit being brought up in our world and society that needs attention. And I do agree that when the conversation of diversity comes up, a lot of it is Black storytelling. I do believe there's room for
and there's been a lot of white supremacy shows. I mean, the Boys that I love. I mean, it feels like it all got started with Get Out. I mean, Get Out created that kind of fear, right? But now it feels like it's being overplayed, you know? And I don't know. Like,
I feel you, man. There are like shows on Netflix that's like Dear White
Lovecraft Country that we're all obsessed with, right? It's all about white supremacy. It's like, oh, we're not the KKK, we're better wizards. Ooh, and then it just creates this more hysteria. And it's like, how are we supposed to bring diversity and more inclusion on film when we're just scaring people with film now? And that's what it feels like.
Right, and I feel you on that. When you drop a show called Dear White People, do you really expect white people to watch it?
Or Blackish. I mean, imagine if you had a show called Whitish.
Awesome.
I mean, imagine if you had a show called Whitish, and you got Don Jr. showing up as a special appearance. I mean, people would flip. But I mean, I know that we're starting to run out of time, and I know that we can tackle. But hey, John, you had something you wanted to say, so I'll let you say.
Oh no, I just wanted to speak real briefly about the true vision. I believe it depends on the story. The message is ultimately the most important aspect. If you find a disabled actor, that's great. But if you find a great actor who can tell the story with disabled expertise, somebody from the disabled community given that expertise, I think it could work.
Yes, Lorena Gordon that we had on a few weeks ago had the exact same answer.
Yeah.
She is a Latinx director, and that was a question posed to her, and that was same thing. And snap on John. Everything you were saying, I was like, yes.
But we got one more minute, and I want to throw this at Joe. And Joe, I know you're a huge moviegoer, and I know, John, you are as well. But I know I saw you tweeted out a couple days ago how you miss so much the days of the movie pass. And we just saw recently that AMC is going to try to survive the second wave, but Regal and Cineworld have recently suspended operations. They cannot make this forward. And what makes you think AMC could possibly survive? Because I was just talking to TLDR that I like to watch my shows for free. Do you see millennials actually supporting the movie theater chains once the pandemic's over?
I mean, the movie-going experience was already kind of like dying off. Like the only movies that people would really go to see are the big box office names like Avengers or Star Wars or stuff of that nature, you know? So I mean, I don't think it's looking good. I mean,
well, it sounds like Joe isn't going to be racing out anytime soon. You know?
Right. I want to.
He goes, I got no Marvel films this year. He goes, this is
no.
There's nothing to get excited for. But hey, boys, I'm beyond stoked that we had you join us for the first time ever. As our new CCS contributors, go and follow John Carter and Joseph Depakakibo on their podcast show that fights for inclusion in the entertainment industry. And you can find that by typing in the Cast of Color. And we'll see you guys next time on the Chris Collins Show, Millennial Talk Show.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.